Grace and Peace Rudy Collective. Near-death experiences have always fascinated me. People have different experiences, but like certain things kind of stay the same. They leave their bodies, they say they see people that they loved, they say they have this overwhelming sense of peace, and then they come back somehow changed. When I was on TikTok, I came across some near-death experience videos, and I wanted to see what people were talking about. I'm not here to say whether near-death experiences point to an afterlife, whether it's some kind of brain phenomenon, or something that we just don't understand. But I am curious. So let's watch these together and talk about it.
Stay awakened, stay rooted.
A lot of people are really unsure or confused about what a near-death experience is, so let's get into it. My name's Liz, but you can call me Lizzie. In 2023, I had a near-death experience where I experienced my soul leaving my body on the operating table while I was undergoing an emergency hysterectomy after giving birth, and I was in septic shock, so it was to save my life. So a near-death experience is where someone experiences leaving their body. They are either 1, very close to death itself like I was, or 2, pronounced clinically dead, so there is no heartbeat whatsoever. So that's the criteria. So what happens during these experiences? Multiple things. A lot of people report either seeing a guide, seeing a loved one that has passed away. Some people report being in total darkness and just hearing a voice. Other people go to what I would call spirit world, which is what I experienced, where I see other souls. Having my NDE completely changed the way that I see the world now. For me, it was a deep spiritual awakening and a call to live life differently that I could not and can't ignore. It's been a deep soul awakening, for sure. And when you research NDEs, you will find that across the board, that everyone has a deep soul awakening and they come back with a renewed purpose to be of service to others and learn how to love unconditionally. Not just love others, unconditionally love others. So if you've had an NDE before, I really want to talk to you because they're really hard to find other survivors. So please drop a comment below if this is you. If it's not you, but you've had a spiritual awakening, I still want to hear from you. So let's chat below.
So she pretty much said what I kind of said in the intro of the video. They leave their bodies, they have these experiences like the sense of peace, she said some total darkness, and then they come back changed. Let's see if everybody else kind of says the same thing that she says.
Okay, so you want to hear about the story about the afterlife. Okay, so I've told this story before, but I'm going to just tell it again real quick, because I'm not one of those people who like to dig through people's pages just to find a video. So as you know from my other story times, my psychics run all throughout my family. You know, they the type, if you believe, you believe. If you don't, you don't. They ain't trying to make a believer out of nobody. And not everybody, of course, has an ability. Because as you know, it skips generations and two. And some people just don't have it. So for most people in my family, not everyone, they usually have some type of supernatural incident that triggers their psychic gifts to start blossoming and coming forth. So from what my aunts and my mom always told me when I was a kid, I had this weird ability where I could sense sickness in people. So like back in the late 90s, when my grandmother had her first stroke, like 3 months before, I would be by my grandma and I would be like, hey mom, she's about to get sick. And then, you know, black people are naturally superstitious. They like, stop speaking shit like that. And as being a kid, once you get yelled at because, you don't want to speak negativity into the air, whether it's real or not, they would tell me to be quiet, but they would be filing it away in the back of their head. Then 3 months later, my grandma had her first stroke. And I don't even know how to explain it because it still happens to me occasionally to this day, just not as frequent. I don't know how to explain it, but it just happens, and I ain't never been wrong in my family wise. And even though I had situations like that would be constant back to and other crazy shit that would happen in my childhood, my mom was always waiting for the one thing that could set it in stone where it's like, okay, this got the gift. That's how my mom speaks. So fast forward to the story time that this comment is attached to. When my aunt passed away, she ended up passing away about 1 or 2 in the morning. My entire family was up at the hospital. The only ones who were back at this house was me and my mom because I had school in the morning and my mom couldn't take off of work, so she had work. But she was up all night because she was waiting to get the call of her sister passing. So it's like 1:45, 2 a.m. My mom says the phone rang, and she knew it was the call she was dreading, but she knew it was coming. The phone is all the way in the kitchen. My bedroom is in the front of the house, so I'm asleep at this point. So I wake up and I'm in this dream, right? And I've always dreamed, but this is a dream unlike any other, where I was awake and conscious to know, like, oh, my body's asleep, but my soul is awake. And I was in this room, and each room there wasn't any walls. However, it's like the walls were made out of cloud, and each wall emitted such a bright light that if I was on Earth looking up at the sun, you know how if you look up at the sun, it hurts your eyes, and you normally can't look into light that bright without damaging. I'll put that on anybody's life. Like, the light is greater than anything you'll ever see in the physical world. The shit was on another level, literally. And next thing I know, in the middle of this room, right, there's a staircase that's just coming out of the ground, but there is no ground we're standing on. So I don't know what I'm standing on, but all I know is the walls are clouds, and every angle of this room that I am is just emitting a bright light. I feel an energy come up behind me, and I turn around and I see it's my aunt. So she grabs my hand and we walk over to the staircase. And before then, I never suffered a tragic death of my immediate family. But in that moment, I knew that was the end of her lived experience. So we're standing before this grand staircase that's coming out of the middle of the floor, and we step on the first step, and then the steps become like an escalator, and she starts to ascend, yet I'm not moving. I'm like, if we both stepped on the same step and this is like an escalator, why is she going up and I'm standing still? And she was speaking to me, but the words weren't physical, they were telepathic. And once she got to that top step, she just became one with the light in the mist. And she was just revitalized and became the light. And with me being only in 5th grade, I think she came to me that soon because she knew I was going to take this hard, because she helped raise me with my mom and granny. So then as I turn around, I wake up, and I wake up standing, and as I'm waking up and coming out of the dream, my mom's coming into my bedroom because she's coming to break the news that my auntie just passed away, because she literally, less than a minute ago, she just got off the phone with her niece that called her from the hospital saying, hey, she finally took her last breath. So when my mom come in, my mom's looking at me like, what is this standing up in his sleep for? So then I look at my mom and I'm like, it's okay, I already know she's gone. And my mom's like, well, how do you know? Were you awake when I got the call? And I was like, no, I seen it. So then I explained everything that happens to my mom. And I got a private mom, but she's very eccentric and dramatic. She was like, oh, you just seen your auntie into the afterlife, and with this family, it probably won't be the last person. And then she was like, I'm proud of you. You done made it back from the afterlife on your very own, and seen his auntie off on the way. And ever since that moment, like I said, I'm not religious at all, but nobody on this earth will ever be able to tell me that there's not something after this experience, because I seen it for myself.
Okay, so his wasn't a near-death experience. He apparently had some abilities, and he was able to see when his aunt passed away and was able to see her go to the light.
So there's this story I've been wanting to tell for a while, and I've only told my family because telling other people just, it sounds weird, and I don't want people to think I'm crazy. But so this is a story about my near-death experience, right? And I call it a near-death experience because I think that's what it was. Now, my family thinks it was just a dream, but I honestly, I do not think it was just a dream. I really think that this is what happened. So, in 2023, January 4th, 2023, I got into an accident. And this was a freak accident. It wasn't a car accident. It was the freakiest thing that happened. I joined a fitness boot camp, and I was in there and I was working out. I had just broken off my 9-year relationship, and I wanted to, go back into the gym and just get myself moving again. And I was in this boot camp, and I was on the jump box, those high boxes, and I don't know what was going through my mind, but I was on top of the box and I stepped off the box for some reason, and I didn't realize how high I was, I guess, and I came off the box and I broke my foot. When I broke my foot, you know how your foot is like this? I broke my foot and my foot went like that. So my foot went that way. Broke my foot in 3 places. My bones broke. 3 bones broke. It was the second worst break you can get. My foot was completely mangled. It was bad. So everything stopped. They called the ambulance. Ambulance came, took me. They called my family. My sister and my brother-in-law met me at the hospital, and they gave me medication to basically dull the pain, because I was in so much fucking pain. They had to cut my sneaker off my foot in order to get the, I guess they had to stint my foot to kind of stabilize it, because it was just, Lord, I don't want to put a picture. I really don't want to put a picture because it looks bad. I might put the picture, but it was just imagine your foot just twisted like that. But so I was in the hospital, and then they told me, I was kind of out of it, but my sister was there. They told me that they had to put me under. They had to put me under in order to set my foot back into place, right? So basically, they had to give me anesthesia and everything like that. I do remember them telling me they had to give me fentanyl, right? I was scared. I was like, I don't want that. And they was like, no, this is medical grade, yada, yada, yada. The problem was, this hospital in my area is the only hospital in my area. I live in McDonough, Georgia, right? So it is not the best hospital, but it was the closest hospital. I couldn't go anywhere else. So it's the closest hospital. The hospital is not the best hospital. And I really didn't want to go there, but like I said, I couldn't go anywhere else. So I was scared to even go there. But I don't know. I just didn't feel comfortable being put under at that hospital. But I had no choice. They had to set my foot back. So I was like, okay, fine. My sister consented, whatever the case. They put me under. This is when everything started. When they put me under, I don't remember them counting, they normally count and everything. I don't remember any of that. When they put me under, I opened my eyes, and I was in a white space. Now, I view it as like I was in a white void. This is how I view it. I was in a white space. I can see. Everything around me was white. It wasn't a room, but it wasn't outside. I don't know what it was. It was like above me was white, below me was white, all around me was white. Everything was completely white. I can see. But for some reason, I had no limbs. I had no feet. I had nothing. I had nothing. It was like I can see, but I had nothing else. But I can hear my voice in my head. And I kept saying, oh my God, where are you? And I kept saying that, where are you? Oh my God, where are you? And then I said, oh my God, did you die? Did you die? Are you dead? Are you dead? I kept saying that to myself. And I said, oh my God, I think I died. Oh my God, I died. Oh my God. I kept saying that. And then I said, calm down, calm down, calm down. And then I look around. And I'm looking around, and I'm seeing nothing. Everything is white. And I'm like, where am I? Where am I? And I'm hearing my voice clearly. But I can't talk. I don't have any hands. I can't walk. But I can see. And I'm like, am I going to live like this? I remember saying in my head, am I going to be like this for the rest of my life? And then I corrected myself. I said, but you're dead. You don't have any life left. So then I started calculating. I don't know why my mind kind of started calculating how long would I be here if I no longer had life left. How long would I be here in the afterlife? I don't know why, but it was like, you know that meme where the woman's like thinking, but you see all these calculations? It was like I was kind of seeing that. I don't know what that was about, but I'm thinking to myself, I think I'm dead, but I can hear myself. But I can hear myself think, but I don't see it. I don't know if it was my soul. I don't know what was going on. I don't know what was going on, but I remember that, right? So I don't know how much time passed. I don't know, but I was like, I kind of got quickly settled into the fact, like, this was just where I would be. I don't know where I was, but this was where I would be. The next thing I know, I see something bright, right? I see a bright light off in the distance, and I can see the light. It's farther away, and I'm like, what is that? I can't move. I can't go closer to it. I can't do anything. I have no limbs. I can't walk. I can't do anything. I said, what is that? It's getting closer to me. And then I started hearing like a little noise. And I'm like, what is that? And the light is getting closer to me. And then as the light got closer to me, it kind of like engulfed me. I don't know what. It kind of washed over me. And then as it washed over me, it was like I immediately left that white void, and I felt like I was falling, right? So when I was falling, I felt like I was falling from the sky. I don't know what the fuck any of this meant, but I felt like I was falling from the sky. But as I was falling from the sky, I was hearing that same noise, but the more I fell, the more louder it got. So it went from like to it just kept getting louder. And once I was falling from the sky, I was falling through a tree. Maybe, I don't know. I was falling through a tree, right? And the more I was falling, I was hitting branches from the tree. And the branches when I was hitting the branches, everything started getting louder, and I was hitting it. I went like this because it was just getting louder and louder to the point where I couldn't hear my own mind. I couldn't hear anything else. I just was like, so I knew that at this point I now had limbs. So I was like, and it was getting louder and louder and louder. And then I hit the floor.
Oh my God. I may just see if I can find her video. Her name is, she is at simplyty4 on TikTok. It won't be in this video. It's going to be in another video, but I am going to look for part 2 of her video because I am interested. Her story was interesting. And when she said she was hearing that noise I'm wondering if that was like from her surgery. I am wondering.
In 22 minutes, they worked on me to bring me back. And I have to say that during these 22 minutes, it was so dark. It was darker than any darkness I've ever been a part of. I quickly moved into this very dark space, and I saw a light in the distance, and the light became brighter and brighter and brighter. And it was almost like I was moving towards it, but as I was moving towards the light, I started seeing these different scenes of my past coming towards me. I was seeing all the areas that I had sort of been a part of that would separate me from God. I saw the drunkenness, I saw the drug activity, I saw the same-sex relationships, I saw the partying that I was doing. I saw all these different things that I had done that really I was in a moment of being convicted I was being convicted as I was being shown all this, because these are the things that I had done that was going to separate me from God. And so I saw all that go right before me, coming towards me. And as soon as it had all gone by, I went right into darkness again. Again, it was the darkest of the dark. It was the darkest of the dark. And I couldn't see anything. So all I could do was hear. And I could smell. I could hear and I could smell. I could not see. I could not see faces. I could smell. I could hear. So I started hearing all these screams. I mean, millions and millions and millions of different voices screaming out, "Help me! Help me!" I mean, all different voices, just crying out in terror. And they were getting louder and louder, Abigail, louder and louder. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know. It was almost like I was getting closer and closer and closer to the screams. And as I was getting closer, my body started feeling torment. I was feeling sort of tears at my body. It was almost like my skin was being ripped apart, and my arms were being pulled, my legs were being pulled. It was like a constant attack from something very dark, something very demonic. And I almost felt like I was being dragged into this very, very dark space where all these screams were happening. And I literally knew where I was going at this point.
That's what it sounds like. That sounds like you were going to hell.
So I almost went to hell one night as a non-believer. I was a drinker, a smoker, did a bunch of stuff, living for the world. And my soul was starting to leave my body one night. I had a near-death experience, and I was gasping for air. My face was cold, I had tunnel vision, and I just knew it was the end. I just knew in my soul it was the end. You know, when you know when that happens, it's very, very serious. But you know, I kept fighting, and all of a sudden, I'm on my couch, just like, I don't know what to do anymore because it's coming and I'm about to go. But all of a sudden, I sit back on my couch and I just hear 20 different demons around my couch, laughing at me, enjoying that I'm about to pass without God in my life. And something clicked in me that very moment in my soul. And out of desperation, I said, "Jesus, I believe in you for the first time. Please help me." In my soul, not even in my words, but I said that. And he saved me from that place that night. He saved me from hell. I had every single right to go to hell that night. I was deep in my sin. I was addicted, broken, far from God. But his love, Jesus' love, is so deep for even the unbelievers that he had mercy on me that night from going to that very terrible place. The Bible says is weeping and gnashing of teeth. And I was shaking. I was like, "We need to read the Bible." And my dad was, half asleep, and he was like, "What are you doing? It's the middle of the night." But I was shaking and just saying, like, "We need to read the Bible. We need to go to church." Days after that, it was wild, but that's a bit of my testimony that his love is so deep for me and you that it doesn't matter how far you are from God. If you cry out to him, he'll hear you. He loves you.
These things are deep.
One of the hardest things to experience after you have a near-death experience is coming back to your body. Because in that experience, you feel infinite peace, no more pain at all. And then you're brought back to your body where you will experience all the heavy emotions as well as physical pain. I mean, usually when people have near-death experience, they get pretty messed up. So you have to come back, you have to heal, and then heal your soul as well. I had my near-death experience at 14 years old. I went to the peaceful void. I didn't see a light. I just felt embraced in darkness and love and peace. And at that point, I had been going through cancer treatments for about 7 months. And so I was in so much physical pain that it was so beautiful to feel that peace. When I came back to my body, I had to continue to go through these chemotherapy treatments to treat my leukemia. And It was so painful. I even had a reaction to one of the meds, and it destroyed my joints, so I have metal ankles. My life has been filled with pain because I have permanent damage from the chemo. But I can go back to that space, that peaceful darkness, but I miss it so much. And this is what NDEs don't really talk about that much, is just missing that peace. Some people even take their lives because they just can't take the pain of Earth. I do a lot of interviews and podcasts, and one of the interviews I did, the assistant was a counselor for NDEs, and she was a spiritual medium. And she told me that, you know, her message for me, because she was getting a message to give to me, that actually I had a full experience, but I'm not allowed to see it because it will not help my Earth journey. I absolutely believe that, because I've always said that, like, oh, if I saw these beautiful things, I was just in darkness, I would miss it even more. So Spirit kind of put a veil over that experience for me, so I could feel everything, but I can't see what I saw. And I absolutely, that was a confirmation for me, because I always felt like that. But this is what NDEs tend to not talk about, is how hard Earth can be after experiencing that peace. So if you had a near-death experience, pop it in the comments on how you feel. Do you feel like that? Like you just have this longing for wherever you were? Because I know I do.
I can imagine that if you had a near-death experience and you went and felt tremendous peace, that you would miss it. Her experience is different from the previous two gentlemen. They experienced pretty much hell. And for them, I would think like you'd be happy to be back. But she came back and felt pain, so and she was only 14 and had leukemia.
This is for my very spiritually confident individuals. So when you die, right, beyond the veil, this is a veil, it's an illusion. When you die beyond the veil, or when you're like in a near-death state, so a near-death experience, your vessel, like obviously it's not going to be active. Your spirit is going to prioritize healing your body. So when that happens beyond the veil, in the veil, you'll just be reliving memories, or, you know, dreaming about whatever you're dreaming about, and that will allow you to shift, you know, back into reality. And when I say that, I mean like heal. It'll allow you to heal. A lot of people don't know that we can heal, and when you get buried underground, you get healed faster, which makes putting people in caskets completely redundant, because the earth heals you, but they're blocking you off from it. But regardless, you still get healed. The earth's still surrounding you. But the whole idea of a casket is dumb. Like, just put the motherfucker in the ground, bro. Like, you got people buying caskets, bro. Just give me a fucking plot in the ground, put my fucking mans in there, and they'll come back eventually. Unless their spirit leaves, passes on to the next world. Then they probably won't come back. Unless another version of their spirit inhabits that vessel. I'm pretty sure it just constantly goes on and on. I don't know. I just know that stuff is possible, and that's what I wanted to talk about. So if you're, you know, tapped in enough to even understand what I'm saying without questioning me at all, then that's all I wanted to let you know.
Yeah, his story confused me a little bit. Because how are we healing? And if you have more insight on this than I do, please let me know.
I died, and this is why I am not scared of death anymore, part 1. Now, if you don't know what's going on and you want to have a synopsis of what this mini-series is about, go back to yesterday's, which is part 0, which will give you a clear outline of what this series is exactly about. But today is about the near-death experience, the actual event. So what are we waiting for? Should we dive in? I want to set the scene. I want to take you back to the 29th of January 2021, and in the UK it was our 3rd lockdown. I'm going to go into more details in a future video about this, but essentially, was a single mum with 3 teenage boys at the time, and the house was incredibly busy. As you can imagine, we'd been locked up, not locked up, locked up. And so my boyfriend at the time, who lived 30 minutes away, said, Kirst, just come over to mine. You can work from there and have a bit of peace and blah, 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 blah. So I was like, oh yeah, great. He was going back into work, so there was just me in the house. So I came over, and that afternoon I had a Zoom meeting with a girl. So my boys were back at our house 30 minutes away, and I was now at my boyfriend's house on my own with a dog, and I was working that afternoon as normal online, tickety-boo. So I basically sat down on the sofa after this Zoom meeting and decided what I'll do. It's Friday and I don't have to be back till 7:30. I'm just gonna check my emails and then wham bam, be done, and then my boyfriend will be home in an hour and we can grab some dinner and then I'll tootle on home. Well, that's what I thought was going to happen. I use WhatsApp for work, and it's always open because clients contact me through WhatsApp. So during a working day, I would have my WhatsApp open on my laptop, so if somebody wanted to contact me, I'd be able to see it. So what we know, because you know what WhatsApp's like, if you close it down, it says person last seen, blah 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 blah. So what we know is that at 20 to 5 something must have happened. It's such a shame the dog can't speak, honestly, because the dog was the only living species that was around when this happened. 20 to 5, we assume that something happened. My laptop fell on the floor, it closed WhatsApp down. Bish bash bosh. Okay, so Stu, my boyfriend at the time, now my husband, he worked half an hour away. This is where it gets a bit weird. Are you ready for this? So he works in the car industry, and they're a family-run business that's been around for like 100 years. So one of their pride and joys of the business is that their customer service is like elite, and they've got so many repeat customers from generations that come to them based on this. So if somebody rings them up and they're like a customer, if they can help them, they just will. So that day, somebody had broken down on the side of the road who was a customer. Now it's locked down, remember, so everything's a bit of a nightmare. And they'd rung, and Stu picked up the phone and said, oh, you know, I've got a flat tyre, blah blah blah. And he was like, look mate, I'm going to be driving past soon, so if you want, I'll just stop off and I can just easily help you and you can be on your way. So he was like, oh, that's great. Okay, so he's driving back to his house, and on the way he's meant to turn right at this junction to go and help this guy. And as he's about to turn right, bearing in mind he has no idea what's happening back at the house at this point, he gets this call saying, oh, it's all right mate, you don't need to come now because actually some stranger has just stopped and helped me. So I'm absolutely fine, I'm in my car and I'm actually driving, so all's good. I would love to know who this stranger was. They have no idea how pinnacle they are in me being here right now having this conversation with you. No idea. Because Jude did come home, and what he found, well, you're gonna have to wait till tomorrow to find out that, because this is where the story stopped making sense. But as always, I want to leave you with something. Look at her. She just snuck in, bless her. Just be part of the journey. I want to leave you with this, and that is this great reminder. You are so unbelievably more powerful than you could ever imagine. If you even knew, like, 10% of how powerful you are, you'd never worry again. Never. The first place that power has to come from is you. I invite you today to be kind to you, and I don't mean in go and buy yourself a present, book a holiday, or take a day off. I mean here. We've got to start from the inside out, aka the mind. And I know it's not because you've got everything right. None of us have. No. But because you are here, and that's what really matters. Quicker you start loving you, the faster we're going to shift this frequency. And if you have taken anything away from this, then please pay it forward and share this with someone else. Because together, this is how we're going to change this game. Until tomorrow.
I'm going to be simply petty. First of all, I apologize for all these part ones. She is another one, so there may be a part 2 to this video because there's a couple of videos that I need to find. But she stopped the story, and then all of the stuff that she was saying afterwards, I tuned out because you could have continued the story. You said this video was about the near-death experience. No, it was not. The only thing that we know is that at 20 to 5 is probably when it happened, because that's when your computer failed and closed up. That's not the near-death experience. I was misled.
Hello, everyone. My name is Latrice, and I have a lot of stories to tell, but today I'm going to tell two. The first story takes place in 1993 when I was giving birth to my second child, my second daughter. And during birth, as I'm trying to push her out, I feel like something's smacking. I'm telling the doctor she's not coming out. There's something blocking her. There's something wrong. He proceeds to put his hand in me and try to twist her around and everything. And that's when he realizes that she went breech. Basically, she flipped from the proper fetal position, now feet down. And on top of that, she has wrapped the cord around her neck, so her heartbeat is slowing down. So now I have to go into emergency C-section. What I'm going to say right now has absolutely nothing to do with it, but I have to say that was the first vaginal shave that I had ever had that went like zoop, and I didn't have no hair. I had to say that. I just remember that. Anyway, so emergency C-section. I remember getting wheeled off to the room, and then I remember them putting me to sleep, and then that's it. When I woke up, the doctor told me I had a baby boy, which I was so excited to hear because I thought I was having a girl. So I'm like, yay, I got my boy, and I fell back to sleep. Then I was woke up again. Don't know how long it's been because I had fell back to sleep. I can say it felt like, I can't say how long it was, but the doctor came back in and said, oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't a boy, it's a girl. I'm like, okay. I wasn't that excited because I really didn't want a girl. I'm like, I wanted a boy. I already have a girl, but whatever, it's a girl. And I went back to sleep. Next time I was woken up, I was being wheeled into another room for them to put me into another bed so I can go into my actual room where I would be. And I remember how painful it was to scoot over to this bed and these nurses and everybody, and transport people trying to get me on this bed. And it was very painful, but I got there, and then I went to sleep. Went back, got in my room. Next thing I know, the next time I woke up, all I saw was my mom, my husband at the time, my auntie Pat, and I don't remember who else. They were looking at my daughter. I had not seen my daughter yet that I gave birth to. I just remember them being there. And then I went back to sleep. When I don't remember waking up no more after that. I went to sleep, and next thing I know, there's somewhere I see there's people. There's a lot of people. I can't see the details of their face, but I can see them spread it around. And it feels beautiful. I want to go. I want to go. I'm excited. Like, oh my God. So excited. It's the most beautiful feeling that I've ever felt in the world. Like, I wanted to go there. I wanted to go. And they were they were smiling. I didn't feel any negativity from them at all. Nothing negative, nothing at all. Like, I mean, it was beautiful. And I'm going to pause real quick and say, prior to this experience that I'm talking about now, all my life I was afraid to die. I didn't want to die. Like, and the reasons I didn't want to die was I didn't want to feel hurt and sad for leaving my kids, my family. You know, I didn't want that feeling of pain of losing them. So I was afraid to die for that reason. So now I'm going to go back. And I'm sorry. And this is the reason why I'm thinking I had this experience. Because when I was going to this place that I wanted to go with every being in my soul, I didn't have no knowledge of having any kids. I didn't have any knowledge of my mom, my dad, the world. Like, I had absolutely no knowledge. Nothing. The only thing I remember is the only knowledge I had was I wanted to go to these people, and I'm finna get there, and this is gonna be great. And I can't explain the feeling in your heart like my soul, the feeling I had in my soul. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. I wanted to go. So I'm going. And I'm happy and I'm excited. And then I hear, Miss Thompson. I ignored it. It was interfering with my happiness. It was interfering with where I was going. And I was finna get there. And wasn't nobody gonna stop me. Whoever this is saying Miss Thompson. So I ignored her. But I heard her. But I didn't care. I ignored her. Because I'm trying to go. And they still there. I still see them. It hasn't interfered with them at all. Then I hear, Miss Thompson. It's a little bit more firm. So I remember frowning like I just did. Like y'all just saw. I remember frowning like, the fuck? But I'm still going to the place I've always wanted to go. Like, no, I can't even say I always wanted to go. See, that's what I'm saying. That's how I felt. That's how I felt. Like, I get emotional. Hold on. Wait a minute. Okay. It felt like the best, like, I would never have a problem. It's not going to be nothing. This is just, I guess what Jehovah's Witnesses always speak about, paradise. It felt like a true paradise. Like, oh my God. So I'm not letting this lady interfere with where I'm going. So, you know, all of a sudden, I hear, Miss Thompson, wake up. That's how it sounded. Like drastic, like trauma, like wake up. Like it sounded, the way she said it was like, if I didn't open my eyes, she was gonna push that trauma button, that sent everybody in there for cold. She was gonna cold me. Like, come on, we gotta get her back. So when she said it with that voice, I just opened my eyes real quick and said, what? All she wanted to do was fucking bathe me. I'm like, this fucking lady took me from my destination of calm, peace, soul, happiness, paradise, true feeling of love and everything. And I didn't know nothing about nothing. And it was a beautiful feeling, the most, to bathe me. Yeah. So that's the first story. And they obviously gave me too much anesthesia, which I can recognize now from all the times that I could not stay awake, and all the times, which I think was like 2 days or so, a day or I don't know, but I hadn't even seen my baby because I couldn't stay woke. So yeah, so I feel like they had overdosed me, and and I remember telling my mom once I was able to actually stay awoke. I remember telling my mom how so disappointed I was that I didn't get to go where I was on my way to. I remember telling her I was very upset, very mad. My mama, rest in peace, she's not here anymore. But she told me, she said, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you didn't leave, Latrice, because I would not have been able to live if I had lost you." I always remember that. And right now, it's emotional to remember that because she's not here. But at the time that she told me that, I felt her. But my response to her was, I know, Mom, but I wanted to go. And I wish she hadn't woke me up.
So you went temporarily, it sounds like, because first of all, you were still able to hear the nurse or the aide or whoever was taking care of you. She probably terrified that poor person. Can you imagine? So like, I've worked in nursing, finding somebody completely unresponsive. First of all, your mind just kind of freaks out because you don't believe that you're seeing what you're seeing. She terrified that girl, and that's why she kept hearing her scream at her like that. But I can understand. So here, let me backtrack a bit. What I don't understand, well, you know how you see people who say, "I crossed over, I saw my loved ones who passed away." She had a completely different experience. She didn't even remember that she had kids. She remembered nobody but her and her own being, and that she wanted to be with these people that were up here. So her experience is a little bit different. But she did terrify that person in the hospital that was trying to take care of her, for sure.
I wake up and I said, "Oh my God," I said, "I feel like I'm about to die." And I said that word specifically. It wasn't like, "Oh, I got a stomach ache," or, "Oh, I got like," you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, "Oh, I feel like I got the flu." It wasn't that. The words I said, it was like, "I feel like I'm about to die." I'm going to describe to you what I saw the first time I saw someone actively dying. And I really want to get like the opinion of like nurses or doctors or people who work in the medical profession who see this all the time. But what I saw was, this was someone, I was at work, I was working. Someone was, laying in the bed, and they were really pale, look really lifeless, like no color to their lips, eyelids, nothing. And they're laying in the bed, and they have their mouth open, and they were just reaching in the air, right? Kind of how it looked, kind of like how you would see like a toddler, like reaching up for you, someone to pick them up. But at the same time, they were like turning their fingers almost like they were trying to get to the right frequency of the old AM FM radios back in the day. I used to have to turn the knob. It kind of looked, it looked something like that. Now, they didn't actually pass like, right away. It wasn't until the next morning when I came back in, they were already gone. They told me like, yeah, they passed over that night. But the only thing that I could really remember or think about was the fact that they were reaching up and they were mumbling something. And then every couple of words, they would say something like, it sounded like they were saying like "mom," right? Every couple of words. So I held on to that for years. I never really talked too much about it. But my mom has been a nurse for, she's been a nurse for over 30 years. Like almost, about over 30 years, easy. So one day I'm talking to my mom, and we just happened to bring it up. I just happened to bring it up. We're talking about it. And she's like, yeah. She's like, that's common. She says she sees it all the time. People will do that, and then shortly after, they'll end up, crossing over. Now, if that's consistent, then it has to be one of two things. And this is where I want to know. And if you're like a medical professional and you can't really say, I get it. But it has to be one of two things. Either your body is shutting down and you are hallucinating, and everyone, apparently it's not uncommon, everyone is doing the same thing, reaching up in the air, they're turning their hands or turning their finger, whatever. So either your body's shutting down and it's hallucinating and it's making you do that, or you really see something that people that aren't going through that process can actually see. And the image that you see is consistent with, multiple people. Like if you're a medical professional and you've experienced seeing that, or you have your own story, I would be curious to know what you think that is.
What that is, as somebody who worked in a nursing home as a nurse, is part of the death experience. When you work in a nursing home, you see it all the time. People who are getting close to death, they do actually start to see their loved ones and communicate with their loved ones. We think they're hallucinating, but I think myself that this is just like loved ones helping them to cross over. It's been documented over and over again that this is just a part of death and dying.
Is being a good person enough to get you to heaven? I can tell you from personal experience that it's not. One night I was out drinking with my friend when we started roughhousing and getting a little too rowdy, and he ended up putting me in a headlock and choking me to death. I found myself in hell, then I was picked up, my legs were on fire, I was thrown into this, what felt like this bottomless pit where I just continued to fall. While I was falling, these demons were mocking me, saying, just tell us all the good things you've ever done, that'll save you. Tell us all the good things you've ever done, that'll save you. And as I was falling, I felt such sorrow, shame, and regret and rejection, and I couldn't remember one single deed that I had ever done in my life to recall at that moment. And I was so sad because I knew that I absolutely belonged there, but I couldn't cry. I couldn't weep. There was no tears. I wanted to cry so bad and I couldn't. And the only thing that got me out of that pit was saying, all I have is Jesus Christ.
There's nothing to fear but fear itself, resting bitch face. You're not gonna be stuck there forever, okay? You might be alone. However, that place is just a waiting room. The primordial womb and void is simply a waiting room that you sit in until you return to source and complete the reunification process. And then from there, go back to either your home planet or universe of origin or the infinite other number of places that you can go to. That's the thing about the afterlife. There is an infinite number of fucking places to go and things to do. Alright, and I couldn't explain it. I couldn't put into words because human words can't describe how expansive it is.
There was a time that I died for 6 hours, and something was waiting for me on the other side. At least that's according to what a follower who told me this happened to him during a near-death experience back in 2011. Now, I've been talking a lot lately on my channel about things like reincarnation cycles, simulation theory, and near-death experiences, but this is easily one of the wildest NDE stories I've had sent to me, and I had to share it with you all. So after a medical emergency and surgery in Quebec, let's call him JB, he says that he entered this strange state somewhere between life and death, and it was there that he encountered something that he could only describe as Pan. You know, the Greek god, but it wasn't like the traditional half-man, half-goat figure from Greek mythology. JB described Pan as this enormous cosmic being, seemingly made of stars, galaxies, and the fabric of the universe itself. And he even included this drawing of what he saw. At one point, Pan looked at JB from the corner of his eye and smiled. And then he says that he fell into one of his spiraling ram horns and suddenly found himself descending down this staircase that was made of black stone, kind of like onyx, that was floating over an endless void. And sitting on those stairs was someone he knew. It turned out to be his aunt, who had unfortunately taken her own life 5 years earlier. Now, he said that she looked completely listless, and she eventually spoke, saying, "I'm more lost than ever. This is the abyss. I'm more lost than ever." And without thinking, he reached out to her. He took her hand. He said to her, "You're not lost anymore. I found you." And his aunt looked up at him, and she now appeared bright-eyed and full of life. And then everything just disappeared in front of him. Now, the next thing he remembered was waking up in the hospital days later. But here's where it gets a lot more interesting. JB's mother, who was with him in the hospital, later told him that while he was still under after surgery, she heard the disembodied voice of another woman inside the recovery room with them, and she immediately recognized it as her sister. And according to his mom, the voice kept repeating, "I'm so sorry. I was so selfish. I'm so sorry." And the strange part is that JB hadn't told his mother anything about encountering his aunt during his NDE. And about a month later, JB was at a local library when he noticed a young woman looking at him from across the way, and she was smiling at him. She seemed really familiar, but at first he couldn't figure out why. But then it clicked. It was his aunt, except she looked the way that he remembered her from his childhood. She was young, healthy, in her 20s, and JB looked away for just a moment, and when he looked back, she had completely vanished, and he's never seen this woman again. He compares this experience to the myth of Orpheus descending into the underworld to save a loved one, and has since devoted his life to the mysteries of Pan. Alright, thanks for listening to that one. If you've ever had an experience that you genuinely can't explain, whether it's paranormal, near-death, UFO-related, cryptids, or just something completely strange, send me a DM. Let's connect.
That sounds like he was sent to save his aunt. It doesn't sound like he died though. It sounds like this was like a dream that he had when he was under, and that he was sent to save his aunt who had taken her own life and was lost. That's interesting.
I died. I was medically dead, but I didn't die. I was alive. Like, alive. What's wild is I was looking at me, but what I was looking at wasn't me because I was outside of that.
Yeah.
That was just my body. So I quickly understood the truth of who I am as a spirit myself, and then the reality of the spiritual realm. Left my body and passed through the second and on to the third heaven. First heaven is the blue skies, but the second heaven is the next dimension up, but it's behind. I also say up and behind. It's the difference between 2D versus 3D, but this is like 4D times 10. It was higher. It's like this light that was suctioning me higher, but it was also behind everything, and it was more fundamental. It's challenging to put it into English. So I saw the second heaven, but man, I'll tell you, it was way more extensive than people realized. It was actually like civil war. Like, you think things are intense down on the earth. The second heaven is a very intense place. It's a continuation of the civil war that began before we were put on the earth. Like, way more than just one creature, and way more influential than even just one story. I call it the light angels, the ones who emanate from the light himself, the Father. Then there's the fallen angels as well, but then there's the interbreeds, there's the hybrids, there's the watchers, there's many different ones, but they are on two sides. There is no gray area, like you're either light or dark, but you manifest yourself in different ways. And a lot of the dark creatures manifest themselves as light creatures. Again, it is kind of complex. I did see in my peripheral great darkness that was actually working, manipulating people to believe that it was them that are like living their life on the earth and making the decisions they're making, but like it was never them ever. They have been influenced and possessed and oppressed by these fallen angels way more than they realize. I'm talking leaders of nations. I'm talking media influencers, like so many places in spheres of influence. I saw it like a puppet masters, and the fallen angels actually eat off of the authority that is given to them by the free will moral agents, me and you, human beings. The fallen angels feast on the words of free will moral agents. Like, it's like a buffet. When I say words, I don't just mean things that people audibly just put out. I mean like words that are specifically connected to the heart. When we do make decisions with our heart and we speak words with our heart, specifically unforgiveness, man. When you hold unforgiveness against someone, literally it's like a bowl of food to these demonic spirits, and they feast on it, man. And they actually will hook someone with unforgiveness, and then they'll continue, repeat it over and over and over to them. And that's why you get certain dreams. People are dreaming with certain spirits and that they like can never leave. And it's because there's a hook in their bank. I call it the spiritual bank. They were twofold at the same exact time. There's this dichotomy where it doesn't look or feel like they're monsters, but they are. It's challenging to describe, but also there was actually a horrendous beauty to them, like a false light. There are many that you didn't realize they were monsters. Like, you look at them and you're like, wow, they're beautiful. Oh no, that's a monster.
Why would there be a civil war and fallen angels and monsters on any level of heaven? And I've never thought about heaven being multi-leveled. So yeah, that I'm saying it a lot, but that's pretty interesting.
He said, I'll tell you, it prove is fake. What he did was he put a sign. This is a true story. He said when a person that was not a Christian would die and they could bring him back, they would come back horrified. They said our hairs would stand up on our arms in the room because the person would grab home. Please don't let me die. Please don't let me die. I went to this place with all this fire. Oh, please don't let me die. Please don't let me die. So, but then he noticed another pattern. He noticed that when Christians would die and they would bring them back, they'd have an attitude. Oh man, I was in a most wonderful place and y'all set up here and brought me back to this old raggedy planet. So he was like, he saw those two patterns. He still didn't believe. So he said, we brought in a psychologist to interview the people. He said, sir, we don't want to admit this. He said, but these are real experiences. He still wasn't convinced. So what he did was an experiment. He noticed that all of the Christians, when they said they came back, they came through the roof. He said, I'll tell you, it prove is fake. What he did was he put a sign. This is a true story. He put a sign on the roof, faced toward the sky, lit up, and it said, penguins fly south in the winter. You know, penguins don't fly, they waddle. So after that, every Christian that they interviewed, the last question was, did you notice any, you said you came back into your body through the roof? Yes. Did you notice anything strange? 100% of them. Why y'all got a sign on the roof to say penguins fly south in the winter? That atheist doctor quit his practice and became an evangelist after that. He said, yeah, I'm not that stupid. You hear Fred Price? Evidence! Evidence! I used to love that when it came on, but that's Fred Price. That's how his program came on. So yes.
My mom had a near-death experience years before she passed away. What my mom saw when she had her NDE, her near-death experience, it changed the course of my family's lives. One of the things that she talked about, and I'm gonna see if I can find the clip and insert the clip of my mom saying this for y'all.
It was wonderful. And let me tell you, this one thing I want you to know. At some time, I felt myself leaving my body. And I wanted to see my children again, but it was such a good feeling. I felt like somebody had put me in an ocean of love, of peace, of joy. And sometimes I close my eyes and then I just try to get a little bit of that feeling back because it felt so good.
One of the things that she talked about with her NDE was how beautiful it felt. And I'm sharing this today because I know that a lot of people who have lost loved ones, like sometimes there's this unanswered, like, what happened to them? I hope they're okay. My mom literally told us her passing on felt like an ocean of love. She felt like she was engulfed in this ocean of love and peace, and she just could not get enough of it, and she just felt so beautiful and so amazing. She used to talk about this feeling all the time, like, I love y'all. I'm not trying to go right now. When it's my time, I'm going to that ocean of love. Like, she would talk about it all the time. What if your loved one is part of this ocean of love now? This ocean of everlasting love and peace. And she mentioned it not like water, but like, you know how a wave of goodness and peace and love just kind of covers you? That's what she said it felt like. And what if your loved one is there? What if like they are just experiencing this overwhelming peace and love and fullness and happiness and limitlessness? My mom said this feeling was like no love that she had ever experienced on earth.
Friends, do y'all want to hear a story time about what happens when you go away from here? And when I say go away from here, I mean this earthly plane, and not on a rocket ship, but in the long sleep. Good. This video is for y'all educational purposes and for your entertainment, so take it with a grain of salt. Now, y'all know how in every religion they have a afterlife, or what happens when you go. You can be either reincarnated, you can go see Anubis, have your heart measured with a feather, you can go to heaven, you can go to hell, or if you're like atheists and you believe nothing happens. Well, there are so many NDEs out there explaining what happened when people almost went on to glory. And friends, there are recent scientific studies that prove it. Now, people have been revealed that their spouse was cheating on them. They have seen aliens. They have met people of other family members out there, including a man named Randy Schaefer, who had went on to glory back in 2020 from y'all know what was going on back then. And he claimed he saw a golden city. Not only that, he met a veteran that sat on a white porch that manifested his face to him. And he was just a light being, but he manifested his face and said, hey, tell my granddaughter Madison I'm okay. Now, once Randy came up off the ventilator, he actually went to get a haircut about 6 weeks later, where the person who cut his hair's name was Madison, and she had lost her granddaddy.
Randy was able to confirm everything with the granddaughter, including the white porch, the fact that he was a veteran, and the fact that he had flags and red ribbons and all kinds of stuff on his porch. Child, my brain was going into overload, so I went on the internet to find out what the science say about this, because y'all know I'm going to find out while I'm minding my business being nosy. Well, child, according to studies that was released in May of 2023, they say something does happen after the person has gone away. Now, y'all, they're going to use this chart right here to prove it. Now, I'm not going to get into depth into all of this because when I went to medical school and I was going to become a doctor, I decided to change my mind. But this is an EEG, and apparently it measures the frequency that's going on in your brain. Now, those little red splattered spots that y'all see up there represents frequencies of what's happening when your brain is having activity, okay? That big red spot right there shows how your brain would normally look on a regular day doing stuff like we're doing right now, chit-chatting, talking, calling each other. This low stuff down here is just regular hormonal balancing, like your body doing what it normally do, like tell your heart to beat, tell your hormones period to come on, all kinds of stuff. The only thing is this chart is a chart of someone's brain who is no longer with us. And right here is the activity right before they left, where everything was calm and they was peaceful and they weren't really operating much, weren't doing much. They were just getting ready to take their last breath. And this little red spot right here that's circled in red shows what happened after they were gone for about 10 to 15 minutes. Their brain had a sudden spike in activity. And this area of the brain is responsible for dreaming and the subconscious, indicating what people say they see and feel when they go. The pop and the pull from their body, the white light at the end of the tunnel, the flash before their eyes, being able to see their life and everything that they did. And if this person is no longer with us, why all of a sudden is there dreaming activity happening in their brain minutes after they're gone? Well, friends, I hope I ain't got y'all up in too much of a tizzy. And if y'all want more of this topic, I will definitely put it on my podcast with pictures and videos. And I will call y'all back later on. Bye.
That is a good way to end this video, because she came to us with some proof that there is some brain activity, so people could be having those experiences after they pass away. All right, so you all know I want to hear from you. What do you think happens when people have near-death experiences? Do you think they leave their bodies, see their loved ones, feel this peace or this darkness, or feel like they're going to hell? Or if you or somebody else that you know have had a near-death experience and you feel comfortable sharing it with us, please share that in the comments. This topic is so interesting to me, and I just want other people's input on it as well. And if you enjoy topics like this where we talk about like the spiritual, the unexplained, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Also, share it with someone else who's of the same mind. Thank you all so much, and remember, stay awakened, stay rooted, and I will see you in the next video.